Hey, welcome to our monthly news and review program. I'm Patrick Dangle, executive producer of the OSU Ryle Collaboration TV radio programs that focus in on a variety of different topics each week. The Ohio State University South Centers, University of Rio Grande Community College collaborate in providing a number of educational telecasts geared to general audiences. Working together, we currently showcast 24 different broadcasts on a monthly basis that provides a wealth of information programming that is directed to a general audience. Our network has two studios, one located at the Ohio State University South Centers and the other at the University of Rio Grande. We broadcast on Rio Grande Live Stream Network, the Ohio State University South Centers Live Stream Network, on Channel 17 Time Warner, Rio Grande Cable Access TV, Blog Talk Radio, as well as archive our programming on YouTube channels for viewing and listening again. In the last year, our telecasts have encompassed 29 different monthly shows with 51 different hosts. We have 20 broadcasts geared to the general audience and 9 shows directed to our regional broadcast area. Statistics have shown that over 178 countries have viewed or listened to our telecasts. Monthly news and reviews highlight some of our recent programs, giving you, the viewing and listening audience, an overview of some of the programs, topics, and guests that showcased our program. In our first segment, streamed live on June 28, 2017, we show a clip of Body Talk with Sherry Russell, who is a certified nurse practitioner, along with Mike Thompson. Each month, they talk with different medical, mental health, and therapeutic professionals, and the topics focus in on ways individuals can live within having a better lifestyle. In this segment, Sherry talks with Amanda Kipp, Clinical Director at the Woodland Centers, regarding child abuse and trauma, how to recognize signs if your child is being abused, and talking with children about abuse in a general way. According to Amanda, over 1 million children have experienced on a global basis some kind of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse just last year. The drug and alcohol abuse that has spread throughout the U.S. and on a global basis has possibly been a determining factor for the increase of child abuse. Here's Sherry and Amanda.
Hi, welcome to Body Talk today. I'm Sherry Russell, nurse practitioner. Mike is usually with us, but he's on vacation somewhere today. And today we will be speaking with Amanda Knipp, who's the clinical director at Woodland Centers, and we are going to be discussing the topic of child abuse, different forms of child abuse, how to recognize these symptoms in your child, what to talk to your child about, and different treatment options and things that are available in the community. And welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, I am a clinical counselor, and I work as the clinical director with Woodland Centers. I've been there going on 6 years and have been in the mental health profession about 12 years. So I've been working with children during all that time, so I'm pretty familiar with what we're seeing in our agencies, and definitely seeing an increase in abuse and cases coming into the agency.
Okay. What have you seen over the years as far as how we are treating these children and things you're seeing in the office?
I think primarily what we see most, obviously there's abuse in different forms. There's physical abuse, sexual abuse, there's the emotional and psychological, and then the neglect. And we're seeing more of the more severe cases, children coming in with more physical abuse. Sexual abuse is something that we're seeing more of, and I think in my 12 years with that, I think over the last 3 to 4 is really that I've recognized the more severe cases of abuse that are coming in. And it's estimated that over 1 million kids are abused a year, and that's only the reported cases.
That's
and
scary.
there's so, and we know that there's so many more that go unreported. So it's a good topic to talk about and discussion to have.
Do you find that as time has progressed and there's more education and more recognition, that you're getting more people that are more willing to come forward and say, hey, this is happening to me, or hey, I suspect this is happening to a family member?
Yes, and that's kind of the discussion today, is really to focus on education and awareness, because that's how we become more proactive in prevention.
Definitely.
And I think the schools are doing more outreach, wanting education, CPS doing more education in the communities, and even in the juvenile courts. It's something that we're just seeing an increase in our communities.
Okay. Are you finding that as with the drug problem, I know we'd spoken about this earlier, with the drug problem you're seeing an increase?
At 1. They're filmed at the University of Rio Grande TV radio studio, and you can also go to Rio Grande Cable Access YouTube and see a variety of Body Talk programs on various subjects. Our educational productions provide a variety of educational formats in a 26-28 minute time frame. Most all of our programs are geared to a global basis, as well as to audiences on a regional basis. Statistics are kept by various different entities, social media programs, so that way we can see what kind of general audiences that we might have. Our collaborative project had its inception February 2010 using a weekly internet blog talk podcast program at that time. It's interesting to note that podcasts have been used by the general public for not a long period of time, and that it was sort of a new media that we wanted to use with the students at the University of Rio Grande. We had business majors and MBA students who needed opportunities in learning and using cyber marketing formats, which coincided with their educational studies. Students scheduled guests, they interviewed, they did promos, used different marketing advertisement formats, co-hosted, and undertook behind-the-scenes broadcasting and maintained statistical information. The podcast grew, and in January 2012, these podcasts became simulcasting with the University of Rio Grande's Rio Grande Educational Channel 17. That station was under Time Warner Cable System on Channel 17. From then to now, viewers from 4 different Southern Ohio counties are able to view our broadcast shows live, as well listen on the internet. Unfortunately, we do not use Blog Talk Radio as a venue. However, we live stream now and have established several live stream programs, and that allows us to have a network of programs. In our next clip, we have Exposition, an art and culture program hosted by Valerie Thomas and Mike Thompson. Valerie has an artisan store that features many different artists, artisans, painters, musicians, and dancers, as well as many other unique kinds of individuals. Mike and Valerie have these artists come on the telecast showcasing their talents while displaying their many different works of art. In this episode, host Mike Thompson interviews Benji Davis, professor of art and chair of the School of Arts and Letters at the University of Rio Grande Community College. Benji is a printmaker, an artist, a drawer. Benji's drawings are legendary and do a number of different self-portraits. He is currently known as an artist that draws a picture every day based on different events or occurrences at that time. He started doing daily drawings in 2008 and currently has over 3,000 drawings. Here's Mike and Benji.
Yeah, when you see the picture, you see the child, you think about, oh, that time you were at the beach, or the struggle they had in 3rd grade, or whatever. And when a stranger sees them, they just see the shape of their face or their ears or whatever.
Right, just the basics. So I think you brought in some examples of your artwork. Maybe we can talk about that and
Okay.
some of the methods behind that. And
Okay.
I saw a lot of your stuff is self-portraiture, I think.
There's a lot of self-portraiture. This picture we're seeing here is a project I started in March of 2008. And I think in the slide it says it continues till 2016. It still continues. I've been drawing a small drawing every day for almost 10 years now, nine and a bit years now. So I've got over 3,000 drawings. I show these in groups. You know, here are some of them shown in small groups. But I show these in groups of up to 100 drawings at a time.
How do you find the time to do that?
I draw in the evening usually.
Okay.
You know, after I've done with everything else. Not always in the evening, but it's often this thing that I look forward to. Oh, at least I get to draw for an hour today.
Okay.
You know, after all the other things, academic meetings, paperwork, and et cetera. So as you can see, sometimes there's themes. In this one, you see some African art themes. Other times, current events. There's David Bowie, who died. It looks like I was visiting Fletcher Benton. There's a picture of something in his Fletcher Benton's house. And so various other things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are the inspirations?
I've drawn just about everything. I had a series of celebrities. I had a series of famous presidents, famous people with big beards. I did all the letters of the alphabet. I did Facebook friends with sunglasses. A lot of pictures of running and
I see
food.
running injury, maybe.
Running injuries, yes, yes. There's some Welsh sheep.
Yeah, what does that say?
Welsh sheep.
Okay.
There's some people from my high school. I must have gone to a high school reunion around that time. And
Where's the bricks come from? You thinking thick as a brick?
I don't remember. You know, the drawings just, you know, every day there's another drawing. So I don't know what.
Is it hard to come up with something?
No.
No? Okay.
No, there's a way.
Exposition features guests monthly every second Wednesday at 2 o'clock, filmed live at the University of Rio Grande TV radio studio. It is said that art in culture is a sum of attitudes, customs, and beliefs that distinguish one group of people from another. Culture is transmitted through language, material objects, ritual institutions, and art from one generation to the next. The arts and culture sector is continually developing and changing. Further, the ways in which art and culture activity is defined, manifested, and valued is somewhat by locality and community. And it's our pleasure to be able to showcase many of those different arts and artisans in that exposition. Each piece of art is based on the eye of the beholder, but more importantly, each is a representative and reflection of the community we live in. Not all art will be the favorites of everyone, but a sample of the soul that culture holds. In our next segment, we showcased business matters with Kimberly Rausch, the Ohio State University South Center's program assistant, TV and radio technician, and host. It is interesting to note that Kimberly assisted with the very first podcast with the MBA students at Rio. She and I did also our first podcast on credit and using money. Kimberly is the editor of the Ohio State University South Center's Business Development blog. And for more information, you can see below a direct link into the internet newsletter. Kimberly also interviews businesses for success stories that have had a major impact on the economy in our locale on a regional basis and throughout the state of Ohio. In this segment, she interviews Ryan Mapes, director of the Endeavor Center, and Ohio State University South Center's business team leader. Ryan gives an overview of the different parts of the Endeavor Center, which is a business incubator that has received state and national awards for excellence. Here's Kimberly and Ryan.
As you mentioned, we have the export assistance, which if anyone's interested in exporting a good, you know, we've got availability to help walk you through that process. It's not an easy process. Just a couple more things to mention on the Endeavor Center. We do have training facilities. I didn't mention that piece of it. We have a 16-station computer lab where a lot of our social media trainings go on, website design. We have a capacity to seat 72 behind tables for business events, and then smaller, 25 to 30 capacity room, and then a smaller board style room too. So really it's kind of a one size fits all building, or one stop shop, I guess, where you can come and you can get office. If we have office space available, you can have access to free business consulting. You can have access to meeting rooms, computer labs. So it's really a pretty neat setup. Definitely,
and I noticed that if it doesn't live here already, the assistants, then you know the contacts that where to send people. So
yeah, and that's
a huge benefit.
That's a good point. We do a lot of things, and our counselors are really good at a lot of things, but that doesn't mean we know everything by any means. So just what you said, if we don't know the answer to it, we've got resources, partners, contacts that we can call and find the information out for you. Plus, it doesn't hurt that we're a part of the Ohio State University.
Definitely, that is a huge plus. If you want to find out more, you can check out our website at southcenters.osu.edu. There's contact information if you want to contact one of our counselors for assistance too. So it's been great to have you here, Ryan. Thanks for visiting, and we'll see you next month.
Business Matter features small businesses, staff businesses, support organizations, and educational guests every fourth Thursday at 10 in the morning. This is filmed at the Ohio State University South Center studio. Hey, this is August's monthly news and review program, in which I'm Patrick Dangle. We're going through 8 different segments, looking at some of the different shows that we have. We're going to take a quick break here and then be right back. Hey, welcome back to our monthly news and review program, in which we're looking at several different, 8 different segments of broadcasts that we've recently done here at the OSU RIO live streaming and production programs. And we're reviewing a number of different programs that help you as a listener to sort of see some of the different productions that we offer. Listed below are the addresses that we have put on the YouTube. So if you're interested in some of the programs, you can just click on the addresses below and that will take you to it. In our next segment, in our society and in our country, for the most part, we have the luxury to work wherever we want to live. We have jobs and positions that suit our capabilities, and we develop a lifetime careers that fulfill our aspirations. However, we also live in a society that, because our work can be so demanding, that we need at times diversions to help us stay mentally active and physically fit. Sports in a school system allows one avenue for many of us to enjoy the friendly diversions. We are also fortunate that colleges like Ohio State University, University of Rio Grande Community College, and many others have very active sports programs in an assortment of different arenas. Students who come to the universities have talents, skills, similar to all vocations that need to be nurtured and coddled. One of our programs is Eye on the Storm. Hosts include Jeff Lanham, Athletic Director, and Randy Payton, Director of Sports Information, both with the University of Rio Grande Community College. They feature coaches, students, athletes, and sports support personnel who talk about a number of different sports that the university is involved with. In this segment, they interview Sean Gunnell, assistant women's basketball coach, who is honored as one of the coveted 30 under 30 award winners given to a few coaches throughout the United States. Here's Jeff and Randy.
Our guests today also included among the list of honorees from the women's basketball program, assistant coach Sean Gunnell, who getting ready to fly to Dallas to the women's Final Four, where he will receive an award from the WBCA, the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, and we bring Sean in now. You were honored with an honor called 30 under 30, I guess, given to some of the top assistant coaches under the age of 30 across the country. And I guess question number one, you ought to be honored to be on the list.
I'm definitely honored to be on the list. I heard about the award last year, and I looked into it, and I noticed on the list that it was a bunch of honorees from bigger schools. So when I heard, that I got the email a few weeks ago and they told me that I would be honored, I pulled over my car. I was driving to Columbus. I stopped in Chillicothe on my way up, and I pulled over, and first thing I did was call Coach Smalley, and thanked him, and it was truly an honor.
I don't think a lot of people know the kind of hours that as an assistant coach and the different hats that you guys wear. It's more than just riding the bus and showing at the games and going through the X's and O's. You guys do a lot of different things.
Yes, we do. Actually, I was just sweeping the gym floor, before the interview. So we do a lot of different things. We're having GBA this weekend, preparing for that. The recruiting, the scouting. There's no set hours. It's not a 9 to 5. If anything, it's a 24/7. It's an on-call job. So, as a coach, we love it.
And you do more than just coach basketball here at Rio Grande. So what are your other duties, Sean?
I work here in the missions as well. I truly enjoy it. So not only am I recruiting student athletes, I'm recruiting students for academics as well to attend the university. So I'm recruiting all for Rio. I'm all Rio. And you are also the kind of the liaison with all of athletics with the admissions. Is that right? Absolutely. Yeah, I took on that role about a few months ago. We had an influx of athletes coming in for visits, and being a former athlete and currently assistant coach, I took on the role of dealing with all athletes coming in, kind of making that point of contact, and from me to them attending Rio all the way until they sign to the university. So just giving them my experience, it helps a lot.
Kind of talk about, there are a lot of people who, when they get involved in athletics, it might cross their mind, I want to be a coach someday.
The Eye of the Storm is much liked and viewed broadcast. Each month, Jeff and Randy bring a variety of persons involved, and their show is at 2 in the afternoon, the fourth Wednesday of each month. They are a very competitive group in the River States Conference of the NAIA, National Associates of Intercollegiate Athletes. Randy and Jeff really do a very good job in helping students combine their academic world with the intercollegiate competition. This is not to say that just the University of Rio Grande is spotlighted. We love having sports programs that are very actively involved because it helps to shape the youth and it helps to shape individuals that love and watch sports. In our next segment, learning is a lifelong process. Not too long ago, colleges and universities were considered a young person's necessity if one wanted to have a success in a professional career. It was geared to the traditional 18 to 22-year-olds who took further steps in advancing their educational endeavors. College academics was not considered appropriate for everyone, more or less geared to those individuals who had the academic standing and willingness to put up for 4 years. However, in the last 40, 50 years, colleges and universities have expanded their educational borders in communities and have demonstrated itself to be a major learning center for high school juniors and seniors, non-traditional students, traditional students, to those older who are advancing their careers, and to those who are starting a new vocation. Colleges and universities tend to be the first melting pot of today's global world. Dr. Craig Klein, Dean of the Community College and Programming at the Rio Grande Community College, truly understands that community education is important to any and all persons interested in expanding their knowledge regarding a host of different subjects. On June 21st, Dr. Klein interviewed Rick Weiskup on Voice of Rio Grande. Rick Weiskup is the training director and field supervisor for the Jackson County Emergency Medical Services. Discussion points include EMT, Emergency Medical Technicians, a regional history, and the training offered by the Rio Grande Community College. In this segment, Rick shows some of the latest in EMT tools and equipment used to prepare students of all ages in becoming a emergency medical technician profession. Here's Dr. Klein.
So I'm looking at, it looks like a sort of collapsible gurney.
Yes, this is a power cot. It's made by a company called Stryker, and it's also a load system. In years gone by, the two EMTs would have to manually pick that whole cot and the patient up together, lift them into the back of the vehicle.
So literally heavy lifting.
Literally heavy lifting, and we noticed that there was a lot of back injuries because of that. Okay. With this system, this actually, the carriage comes up at the bottom. It's all done by a power, and we can push that patient just in with 2 fingers.
Okay. And there is another way to transport people besides ground-based vehicles.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that one. There you go.
Yes. That's your air medical.
Okay. And so when is this called into play as opposed to a ground-based ambulance?
If you have someone that is severely injured or meets a certain criteria, and this is all set by the state of Ohio. It's called Ohio Trauma Triage Protocol. Okay. When a person meets that particular protocol, they need to be at a multi-trauma center. Okay. Since there is not a lot of trauma centers in rural southeast Ohio, the person is transported to either Columbus or possibly West Virginia to one of the larger hospitals.
Okay. So in that helicopter, you would have at least one EMT?
Yes, you'd have the patient, you would have a paramedic, and also a nurse.
A nurse, so you would have 4 people?
Yes.
Okay. Including the pilot?
Including the pilot,
including
yes.
The pilot. Okay. So in order to reach a point where one feels comfortable, coming to the aid of people, loading them into ambulances or helicopters or whatever it may be, and making these kinds of decisions, they need some training.
Yes.
And that's where our buddy Carl comes in.
Carl comes in.
Okay, so tell me about Carl and what he's used for.
Okay, Carl is our airway trainer. He can be used for putting in advanced airways. And this is one of the airways that an EMT can, under certain circumstances, can use. So actually, with this, we train people how to properly place this device, when it needs to be placed, of course, and the indications and contraindications of using this particular device.
Dr. Klein interviews adult educators with some of the latest community programs that persons of all ages can apply. His show is at 3 in the afternoon every 3rd Wednesday of each month. He talks with many of the different students, faculty, about the coursework, which can be very intense, requiring students to meet overall expectations for their certifications. In our next segment, we're going to deal with culture. Culture Cast with Dustin Homan interviews Clara Selly regarding Germany and Switzerland. Clara is a student at the Ohio State University, enrolled in the CFAES program, and was recently interviewed by Dustin Homan, who is the program manager of the 4-H Special Projects. Both are with the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, and also with the Ohio State University Extension 4-H Youth Development. Clara has family members in Germany, and they talk about cultural aspects of not only Germany, but also she shares highlights of Switzerland. It has been my experience that regardless of who we are or where we come from, each of us have one thing in common, and I'll be quite frank with you, a lot of us like it. It's food. Clara, in this segment, talks a bit about the local foods that most eat, both in the morning and at lunchtime. Here's Dustin and Clara.
So first thing, first picture that you're going to be seeing is a typical German breakfast table. In Germany, breakfast is one of our bigger meals. It's kind of to start off the day with your family in a positive manner, to kind of tell everyone what's going on with your day, what is it going to look like, and to kind of just have a little bit of community in the morning. Typically, you'll have a lot of bread. Cereal isn't quite as common in Germany, or like sweet things for breakfast. It's more of a savory meal. So bread, pretzels, really good pretzels. Oh my goodness, so good. Typically on top of them, you'll put like jam, marmalade, quark, butter, and then the coffee. The coffee is also a staple of the German diet. We have really good coffee, I have to say, and it's kind of a drink that we use to talk over things and to kind of relax and, you know, get a sense of community.
So when you were there, is this typically an early morning event or more of a brunch type event?
I would say for most families, it's more of an earlier morning, so maybe between 7 and 8 is by the time everyone is normally up, because of work and school. And typically the Germans don't really slack a lot. We're not really into sleeping in a whole lot. We like to get things accomplished and start our day off right, which kind of, you know, goes back to the whole saying about the early bird gets the worm. So typically we'll have breakfast between 7 and 8, maybe 8:39 if we're really pushing it.
The German culture may not be a good culture for me. I don't know about you, Patrick. I don't like getting up early in the morning. But with that kind of food that's available, that might be enticing to do that. So tell us a little bit about the photo that's on the screen now.
So the photo that's on the screen now is of a typical German bakery. You will find these everywhere in our local grocery stores. There's bakeries on every street corner in every little town. They're also kind of one of the staples of German culture. Our bread, there's no comparison between German bread and American bread. The difference is just, it's so different. And my favorite thing is a German pretzel with a little bit of butter and then cut open, and there's nothing that beats that.
Now, is there a difference between like the big pretzels that we would get at a fair or at a sporting event and that, as you call it, a German pretzel?
Yes. They're somewhat similar. German pretzels, they're more locally grown. I believe, if you're getting really technical, the wheat and the ingredients that go into the German pretzels are a little different, and then kind of the size of it isn't quite as enormous.
CultureCast is aired on Thursdays each month, the fourth Thursday of each month at 9 in the morning, which is live streamed at the Ohio State University South Centers. Dustin brings many people from all over the world talking about traditions, culture, and ways of living. If one has not traveled to other countries, this telecast gives a very good overview of some of the different cultures that make up our world. In the next segment, Voice of Rio Grande with Dr. Michelle Johnson, who's the president of the University of Rio Grande Community College. It was published February the 2nd, 2017, in which Dr. Michelle Johnson featured Carrie Soller. Carrie is with the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and she's the project manager for campus education, safety, and sexual violence prevention. There, Dr. Johnson and Carrie discuss Ohio's Changing Campus Culture initiative. In its second year of implementation, Changing Campus Culture is a comprehensive effort involving all public and private colleges and universities in Ohio with regard to preventing and responding to sexual violence. Here's Dr. Johnston with Carrie Soller.
We have a really exciting program today about a very important topic. Many of you know that I have had individuals on this program and some of our other programs from the Ohio Department of Higher Education. Our Chancellor of Higher Education, John Kerry, has been on this program many times, and we've had the opportunity to talk about many of the initiatives and projects that are led and supported by the Ohio Department of Higher Education. And one of those projects and initiatives that we've discussed is the Changing Campus Culture Initiative, which is designed as a statewide program for both public and private institutions that is focused on the prevention and response to sexual violence on our campuses. And we have some tremendous goals about the progress that need to be made to make sure that our campuses are safe and that sexual violence on our campuses just does not happen and does not affect our students, and those are our goals. And we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about that today. I'm very honored to have Carrie Soller. Carrie is here from the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and your title, I do not think it fits on a business card. It just can't. But she is the project manager for campus safety and sexual violence prevention. Yep. With the department, and I've had the opportunity to work with Carrie on this project really from the beginning as a part of a group of presidents that really were promoting this and talking to other campuses and other leaders to say, you know, this is a priority, it's important, and this is where we want to go as a state and as a community of learners.
Absolutely.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I really want to listen to all the things that you have to say today. There's so much I know that we could cover. Let's see how we do. Okay. I know we have a lot of ground. But can you give us a little bit of history about how this Changing Campus Culture came about, and a little bit of detail about, you know, how is it funded, and really kind of some of the basics of this program.
So as you well know, the initiative began as a collaborative approach with college and university presidents, such as yourself. You were a vital part of this getting off the ground, as well as our campus and community experts.
Dr. Johnson's Voice of Rio Grande is the first Wednesday of each month at 3 in the afternoon. Her programs highlight different organizations, different programs that impact college campuses throughout Ohio, as well as supportive educational programs. Programs that support quality campus are extremely important, like the Telecast clip that you saw. The Ohio Department of Higher Education's goal is to make every campus in Ohio safe, and as Carrie Soller and Dr. Johnston discussed, being aware of a problem allows campuses to plan safety practices on a proactive basis. In our final segment, we have Dave Apsley, who features a program called Tree Talk and features Lee Crocker. We showcase one of the several programs that Ohio State University Extension programs have available. Ohio State University is a land-grant university throughout Ohio with field specialists that are available to assist individuals on a variety of different areas, including agriculture, horticulture, aquaculture, bioengineer, soil health, woodlands, and much, much more. Dave Apsley invited Mr. Crocker on July 13th and was able to focus in on how building partnerships to improve woodland managers really help to promulgate family forests. Dave Apsley also coordinates a day in the woods. As a woodland owner outreach effort focused on the Appalachian, Ohio area, the topics for the July 13th would be improving how those woodland areas increase game life species. Lee Crocker is a private lands biologist from the National Wild Turkey Federation, and Dave and Lee talk about some of the deer as well as ruffled grouse, gray squirrels, and much more. Here's Dave and Lee.
Hello, I'm Dave Apsley, your host with for Tree Talk, and I'm here to introduce you to our guest today. It's a district biologist with the National Wild Turkey Federation, Lee Crocker.
It's great to be here, Dave. Excited.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about private lands management. We call them family forest owners, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they can do to manage their woodlands. So to give some folks a little background, I'd like to start off with a slide showing a little bit of history of what's happened to our forest land in Ohio. Kind of gives a little backdrop and gives you an idea what's happened in the past. So this slide is actually from Division of Forestry's webpage, and it shows how we went from a low in Ohio of about 10% forest, and you can see over time from the 1940s up through the 90s how the land has changed from open ground to forest ground. We've actually gone from, like I said, a low of about 10% forest to now we're at about 30% forest, and we've kind of leveled off. So I'm kind of curious, Lee, what your thoughts are on how that's affected some of our wildlife populations.
Well, Dave, it's had a dramatic effect on wildlife. You think back in the 40s, there was no wild turkey in Ohio. They'd been extirpated out of the state and removed, and a lot of that's because there was no or very little forest land left with the 10% there. So, but there's other species. There's always a positive and a negative effect when you're talking with what you do on your forest or on your land as far as wildlife. So there were certain species like bobwhite quail that when you opened that up and you had weedy areas and grassy areas and more open land and brush, that the bobwhite quail benefited from that. The wild turkey, though, was it hurt the wild turkey with less forest land. It was good for other species. You think of ruffed grouse, who needs kind of a young forest, a woody forest, young woody forest to survive. It was great for them. For something like a deer, they're a generalist, so a generalist can survive in a lot of different habitats. So it can survive in cropland, forest land, brushy areas, all different kinds of areas the deer can utilize. So their population, once they began to come back into the state, has really boomed. And even if we lost more woodland, we'd still have a large population of deer.
Dave is very knowledgeable in helping people maintain good woodlands. As a matter of fact, he has Tree Talk at 11 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, the second Thursday of each month. As you have seen, we have a variety of different programs geared to the general population. Some of these include Agri-Talk, which focuses in on agricultural areas. Body Talk, focusing in on practical medical treatment programs. Choosing Recovery, that features different alcohol and drug addiction recovery specialists. Culturecast features different countries and cultures throughout the world. Exposition, they have different guests who come in who do art, dance, music. We have Manufacturing Partners, who bring in guests who work in and with manufacturing businesses. Our Ohio Valley Bank, our OVB Common Sense, in which different financial topics are offered by different members within the Ohio Valley Bank. We have Positive Partners, which features dog training segments. Soil Health Series, with guests that help farmers and food producers maximize their land. South Center's Chat with Tom Worley, who's the director of the South Center's, Ohio State University South Centers, in which he brings in educational business organizations that provide educational insight. Tech Talk, our very popular Tech Talk, is focused in on new types of technology in the educational and business worlds. Tree Talk, which focuses in on woodland, harvesting food, harvesting wood, and maintaining healthy forests. And our Voice of Rio Grande with Dr. Johnston, who features educational or organization leaders that have an impact in Ohio. Each week we have different and unique telecasts on a variety of educational themes. All programs are live streamed on TV networks and on YouTube. We are easy to find. Search on Rio Grande Cable Access or go to youtube.com/South Centers. You'll find these at the bottom of our program information, and it's always a pleasure to work with all the different individuals throughout our broadcast programs. I'm Patrick Dangle. This is the wrap-up of our August monthly news and review. Thank you for watching and listening.